for roads with a little higher velocity travel, perhaps more decisions to be made. Again, it's just another one of these things that doesn't completely comply with the geometric requirements of the subdivision control or the subdivision regulations in town, so just want to point that out. A few of the driveways, and you'd be able to see them if you throw a scale on there, are closer to one another than 150 feet.
Is it not that the reason that those driveways are that way is because of the way they've been located due to the abutting properties and stuff?
Well, it has as much to do with the topography, the existing wetland, the wetlands on site, you know, again, trying to condense the
both,
development
right?
to get them away from the residential, all of those are factors.
So it is a benefit for both issues?
Yeah, I believe so.
The abutters and the wetlands?
That's correct.
Okay. Any further, board have any other questions on that one?
Nope.
Okay, and I don't see any reason of any considerations on it, so we have to make a motion, please. I'll make a recommendation that you motion every other one. Go ahead, Paul. It's 11:35, let's go.
I make a motion to waive whatever the applicable
What
section
section
is
was
there.
that?
244-13-5.
244-13-5, and I'll second that motion.
All in favor? Aye.
All right,
Okay.
six more, how's that? Section 244-13-7, where street grades exceed 4%, a leveling area of not more than 2% shall be provided for a distance of 75 feet from the sideline of the intersecting streetway. So this goes to where roads are greater than 4% in slope, that there's a transition at the bottom for folks to either stop on the downgrade or to stop as you
And
come
why
to.
why couldn't you conform?
We're at about 3 to 3.5% on the roads at the leveling areas. You know, coming into the site from Flag is fairly steep. Coming into Park Central at that intersection where the geometry is going to be such that it's entrance only is somewhat steep, those two areas. And then as we get to the back towards the 40B, the grade starts to drop there pretty good if you've walked the property. So some of those driveways, we just aren't able to make it, again, to minimize cuts and fills and try to condense the footprint of the project.
Okay, so, all right, I understand.
All right, the thing on the entrance and the percentage of that grade, due to the fact that the brook that goes up along the driveway, they can't lower that hill.
That's right, we are in a fill, and we have to span that
They
intermittent
can't
stream.
lower that hill to reduce that grade. So something which has been discussed before is the fact that we approve this waiver with a condition of conditions that are going to go on the entrance that we had talked about before, about storm weathers, you know, maintaining it, get plowed properly, it gets sanded
Right,
properly.
yeah.
Because of the incline. Now, in looking, and I've reviewed the drawing quite a bit, and I've seen that they really can't cut it down because of the way the brook and everything is there, and they can't move it. I thought maybe they can move it to the north area, which they can't because of the property line, so it's gotta, but I think the proper thing to do, because it's coming out onto the Flag Road, that we're gonna make some conditions on the final decision of maintenance of that particular part of the road for safety issues.
Yep.
So I like to make that, and I think, Mr. Petrie, we had talked about
Yeah,
this
we're in
publicly
agreement.
a while back on this road, and we talked about the last meeting when the planning board made a comment of the percentage of 10% or 11%, if you remember. We did talk about it at that night, the way we were gonna do it, so
All
I'd
right.
like to put that into the waiver agreement.
So the grade will exceed 4%.
Right, so what's
It would be a shorter, it would be
Yes.
a shorter, steeper leveling area,
Okay,
is
all
what we're
right,
looking.
I'll make a motion to waive the requirement for grading on the entrance and also
On the roadways.
On the
On the
Driveway, the
roadways.
driveway intersections in
Right,
particular.
okay,
Right.
and on the driveway intersections.
And I'll second that.
Yeah, but we want to make the motion, but I also want the motion made that that we will discuss conditions of the access onto Flag Road.
Yep.
So we make it proper for safety issues, that's all.
Okay,
That understood?
Yes.
Okay?
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Next one is section 244-13-9, and it has to do with a trying to avoid straight segments of more than 400 feet, which would encourage high speed and detract from the appearance of residential areas. The main drive has a section that's roughly 800 feet or slightly greater, that's effectively straight. It's where it runs along the large southern pond
Yep.
to the east. That's obviously been done to keep the road and homes away from the neighbors and also not to impact the pond. So one thing we're doing here is the road is proposed at 22 feet. That in and of itself should help reduce speeds.
I don't have a problem with that.
And another issue with that is the fact that doing it is the length it is, and is something the police department has made comments on town roads, that, something like that, there's been recommendation about putting speed bumps in, but it's something that, like, the police department has stated, and the highway
Well,
department.
it's a
that
private road.
Not to do, plus it's a private road,
Right.
so I think in what they're saying is right.
Okay, all right.
So we need a motion.
I'll make a motion to waive the requirement for the road, what is it, the road construction, the road?
This is the layout of the road,
The layout of the road,
400-foot straight sections.
right.
Second?
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. We need, just so I make a quick comment, we have 20 minutes to do this, because at midnight, we do not have the right to go in tomorrow for a meeting.
All
So
right, you
let's get this done.
5 more.
Unless you continue it till tomorrow.
What?
Unless you continue it.
No, you can't. You can't continue it if it's not a posted meeting prior to today.
244-13B3, no driveway opening shall be located within 65 feet of intersection of center lines of intersecting streets. There are a few places within the or it's not a subdivision, here I go, because we're talking about subdivisions, within the townhouse areas where some of the townhome units' driveways are going to be within 65 feet of one of the other roads intersecting, in particular where the loop road coming around the pond. There's a handful of those.
Right,
Um,
And
Wouldn't
that's
be,
to
wouldn't be
condense the
allowed in a
property.
subdivision.
I understand. All right, that's a no-brainer for me.
I mean, they're private roadways.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to waive that.
I have a question on it. Due to the fact of the waiver on it, I don't have a problem with it, but I'd like to be able to see the design of that intersection and maybe have to make a little consideration on it because of the fact of a traffic issue
Well,
or
there's a few
something.
like that, right?
Yeah, that's not every case.
Yeah,
There's
there's a
couple.
few of them, so.
And we will certainly look to relocate driveways to avoid that or to mitigate
Just
that.
to be able to look at it in what do you call it? So would that be agreeable?
Yeah, no problem.
So in the approval, we just make a decision that we will look at that in the future so that in case there's something else that we can do it.
Okay.
Yes,
All right, do we have a motion?
you motioned it.
I already made it, but I'll
Oh.
make it again, that we grant the waiver for the intersection for the less than, what is it?
65 feet.
At less than 65 feet.
And the right for the review in the
Right for the
future.
review down the
Okay,
road.
do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. Go ahead, sir.
Next one is section 244-13B4, and it has to do with the sideline of a street right-of-way and the edge of the pavement or gutter. There's a defined grade, minimum and maximum. Again, this is in a subdivision. There is no street layout. There is no sideline of a road. But where I think the intent of this regulation is going is that there be a relatively flat shoulder, if you will, and immediately adjacent to the road, you have a flat area. Allows for utilities, allows for plantings, and it allows for a sidewalk, snow storage, and so on. What we've done is, we don't necessarily have 20 feet, let's say if it was a 40-foot road, we don't necessarily have 20 feet on either side of the paved roads as being relatively flat. Again, we're trying to get the grades to catch up as quickly as possible. But we have afforded room in all cases for a sidewalk along the main road. So I would contend that the intent of that regulation, as I understand it, has been met. There's not an intention either to widen this road, which might be another reason why a town would want a relatively flat shoulder, or the rest of their right-of-way to remain flat. Within the, again, when you develop a roadway, you've got a 40-foot right-of-way, and you have a traveled way down the middle. Those shoulders along the side, the town generally wants to be relatively flat, again, for utilities, sidewalks, maintenance thereof. We've afforded enough to put in the sidewalks. There's no intent to widen these roads where
I
you might want to
understand.
widen a
Put
public
the
street.
sidewalks
So how
there.
are they gonna go on the, as far as-
It'll be, everything will be on the sidewalk side, they'll be pitched back to the road as you would have in a normal, typical, conventional town road.
Right.
And then beyond that, we'd be sloping off more quickly than the town would allow. Typically in a subdivision, they'd require that flat surface to be carried out for another
And
tender.
that's due to the design of the curbing
Well, it,
water.
It's to maintain the level, the pitch
for,
of
I
the
think in a
road.
public subdivision, a public road is to maintain that level corridor, that utilities and trees
Yeah.
and sidewalks or expansion of the roads can be accommodated. Here, that's not
Right, I
necessary.
understand.
Because that's something that was asked, and I know that the engineer company had said there was no issues with that, Foster O'Neill, so.
Okay, I don't have a problem with
No problem.
granting a waiver. We'll grant, make a motion to grant a waiver for the,
Section.
for the shoulder, I guess, to have a less than,
Less than full width and,
less than full width shoulder on either side.
You have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye.
You'll get time for this.
next section, 244-21A, sidewalk shall be constructed within the subdivision, and when the board determines it is necessary outside the subdivision to connect to existing sidewalks, they shall be constructed in accordance with the standard street cross-section for the full length of the street layout on one or both sides as directed by the board. And except that it turnarounds, the sidewalk shall terminate at the last driveway. In this case, we're not proposing sidewalks on some of the smaller spur drives, just the main loops, so, and one side only.
Okay.
Aye.
That's obviously to condense.
Again, minimizing, folks on short spur drives, if you will, they're gonna be walking down the center of
I
the street, you
understand.
don't need the
I
redundancy.
don't,
Well,
makes sense.
something to do differently, because I have to disagree in that the sidewalks in the condo part of the project will be something that'll be done by the planning board.
Yeah, I mean, they'll have final say on it.
What?
They'll have final say on it. I mean,
Say that again?
They'll have a say on it.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and do the waiver.
okay, so we'll offer we'll make a motion to grant him a waiver for the sidewalk, for not having sidewalks on some of the spur roads
And two
Second.
sides.
and the two sides.
And on one side only, right?
I'll second that.
All in
have
favor?
sidewalks on one side?
One side only.
All in favor?
Okay, next, Michael. Keep it
Two,
moving.
244-23, second to last. The entire area between the gutter or curb line and the sideline of a street right-of-way shall not occupied by a sidewalk shall be graded to within 6 inches of finished grade. It goes on to specify a few other requirements. The idea here is, we're not looking to carry, it's analogous to that width. We're not looking to build it out to a full road standard, because we're not gonna be looking to expand the road in the future. And again, a sidewalk is provided on at least one side on most of those major walkways. So there's no intent to not build the road or the sidewalks to the town's construction standards for gravel base and materials utilized. It's just to minimize it as opposed to maximizing it for future expansion.
So what will be the width?
The driveway, the main road's 20, the main drive is 22, some of them are, I think, 20. But, and then I believe we have 5-foot sidewalk, but it would have to be 4.5 to comply with AAB and ADA. I
So
believe.
there'll be at least 4.5.
Yes, they have to comply. They have to comply
Okay.
with code, so. And again, it's as much to do with,
Wait, so what is the waiver?
it's to not have to build out that flat shoulder to a specific grade requirement. It's analogous to the one that
Right, we
was
just-
discussed
all right, so
earlier.
this is
There's
so
a little
much
more specificity to what
Okay. all
the
right,
construction
so
methods are.
I'll make a motion to grant that waiver to eliminate the need to have that advanced shoulder width on.
And the construction thereof.
Right.
Okay.
I second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Our last one, 244-24B. Excuse me, suitable existing trees within the rights-of-way approved by the tree warden, if larger than 4 inches and located outside the shoulder, shall be preserved. Trees to be retained shall not have grade changes over their root areas more than 12 inches. Where suitable trees do not exist, at intervals of less than 40 feet on each side, street trees shall be provided by the developer. In this instance, along the main road, John Boland and Blackthorn, there are a few places where there are walls that are in an area to stay away from, to keep the road out of the wetland, keep the fill out of the wetland. There may not be adequate room, we don't want to plant large trees on top of a retaining wall, or in the vicinity of a retaining wall, in essence. So, and in other places, we may not want to have to cut down vegetation in a buffer zone to plant a larger caliper tree. So that's really what it's going to here.
Okay.
Just in those areas where it would either be structurally or,
So what do you, I don't this.
In areas where it would be either structurally or environmentally incorrect to take trees out to go plant larger trees, we're looking for,
Regulations require them to maintain these 4-inch trees where they
or
can.
replace them, and,
Replace them, and in some cases, because of retaining walls, or.
and/or we're in an area where there's a buffer zone where you
Buffer
wouldn't
zone.
have to disturb otherwise, except to go in to cut something
Right.
out to put a tree in. We're looking for relief from that requirement.
Last one, come on.
I make a motion to waive the tree requirement. How's that?
Okay, I'll second it.
All in favor?
Do we have a tree warden that was mentioned? I didn't-
Yeah, I guess so.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Canizaro, anything?
Nothing further?
Okay, the thing is, due to the fact that I most understand there'll be some issues because we've granted all these waivers, but due to the fact it's a private project and other projects that have been built that way, I mean, there really is no major issues not to be able to grant waivers like this on it. If it was a public project, public roadways, then it would be a whole different issue and a whole different way to look at it.
We agree, yeah.
Okay, the other thing is that, we have a deadline at the end of the month of April. We meet on the, you voted to meet on the 20th, right?
Yep.
I'd like to put on the agenda of the 20th
Of April?
of April, and the thing is, if there's anything that comes up, or we need to do, or we're gonna get the drawing, or whatever, that we can have a meeting that night, or if not, you give us a notification. Anything you gotta give us, you give us at least 7 days before, that you might wanna do that night. And if there is nothing, you just put a thing in for another request, but you have to give us the extension for the 30th too.
I don't think that we're going to be prepared to do anything substantive on the 20th. We're, hopefully now, we're going to be meeting with Concom and Planning Board with plans. So,
All right, so you let us know about a May meeting then.
Right, that's, I
Yeah,
think in
I
May.
wouldn't tie in.
So,
I wouldn't-
and-
Exactly, I don't want to tie up, you know,
And
I'd
so-
say like the end of May,
Okay.
When?
end of May.
Right, well, the thing that you have to do then is give us an extension.
well, we'll move to extend the deadline for the comprehensive permit through June 30th.
You wanna go to June 30th?
Yeah. Because even if we meet at the end of May, and you vote on it on that meeting and approve it on that meeting, it's gonna take us, it'll just give us the right amount of time. There's no sense of coming back. So I would suggest the last Wednesday in June.
June 30th, oh my God, are you kidding me?
Well, Angela, there,
Well, we don't have to lock it in now.
You want to, I mean, I could go till May 30th.
would you do the condition that way? Okay?
I would suggest, you plan on the May meeting.
I agree.
And then you could always kick
Okay.
it out,
No, we need to do a May meeting.
yeah.
That's mandatory.
So
Yep.
when are you meeting in May?
What's the date in May?
The 25th. And we have nothing else on any of the other agendas, so it'd be the 25th at 7:30
Okay.
or 7 o'clock.
So we're just gonna
All
continue
right, do we have a motion to accept an extension, the extension to June 30th?
I'll make a motion to extend the public hearing till June.
No.
No, not the public hearing.
Extension of the extension,
The extension of the extension.
Keep up.
the extension till
Pay attention.
June 30th.
Okay.
I second that.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. And we make a motion to continue the public hearing until May 25th at 7 o'clock.
I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing till May 25th at 7 o'clock.
And I will make a motion to,
Well, hold, do we need to second and approve that?
no.
Oh.
Well, that are all the motions we need. I just make a motion that we close out.
Okay.
We're using the wrong word, too late.
Adjourned.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
All right, second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Sticking around so late.
Yeah.